Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to my channel. My name is Adriana, and thank you so much for being here. I'm just so excited that I am on this journey, and I really am so thankful for anyone who might be joining along the way at any point. So let's get into it. I wanted to talk today about one book and one show that is based on a book that I have not been able to stop thinking about since 2024. And it's not going to be necessarily like a book review or a TV show review. I do like to do more like quick book reviews on my Instagram though. So if you are a hot girl that loves to read books, go check those out because I love sharing. I also share sometimes on my TikTok, but mostly more so on my Instagram. Go check that out. So it won't really be a review per se. It'll just be more so what reflections I took away from both and um, maybe some lessons that I walked away with that I think would be applicable to a lot of people and kind of what they're going through right now. Okay, so we have this book. The first book is by Domenico Starnone. I don't know if I'm saying that right. The House on Via Gemito. And then we have the probably more well-known in a lot of circles, My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. Interestingly enough, they're both based in Napoli and they both kind of follow almost the same time period around post-war era in Naples, right? And kind of set in more working class or poor neighborhoods of Napoli, right? So this is just one commonality that they both have. I think a lot of people who might be familiar with the show or the story of My Brilliant Friend know that Elena Ferrante is apparently a is it pseudonym? I don't remember the word for like the when the author isn't the name of the author isn't actually the true identity of the author. And there is some speculation. I have done gotten on some rabbit holes in Reddit, that's for sure, and on the internet. There is some speculation that the actual real life author for My Brilliant Friend is actually the wife of Domenico Starnone. Some people say that they sometimes suspect that Domenico Starnone is actually the author of My Brilliant Friend, but I will tell you, I don't believe that only because for those of you who do know My Brilliant Friend, but more so for those who don't know, it is it chronicles a friendship of two young women growing up in Napoli, post-war Naples, and just the nuance that the writer brings to their stories and to their friendships or their experiences as women, especially in that time, right? I just don't think it's possible that it could have been written for a man from a man. And I also think it's a little unfair that we're automatically assuming that he was helping the wife, right? But that's neither here nor there. Because some people say that the true author is his wife and that he might have also been helping her. But why do we always got to assume that the man is helping her? It could have been the other way around. But anyways, so House on Via Gemito is one that I did read. I read the entire thing. I read there and so fast because it was so beautiful. Both of these are actually, I think, Europa editions, the publication, which I always love their book covers. Like I love the print, I love the format, I love the font that they use. Like the spacing is always really nice. I know that this is kind of like a lot of information, but anyways, okay, so story that chronicles a friendship of two young women growing up in Napoli, in a poor neighborhood of Napoli, um, over a number of years, and it follows their friendship. Beautiful, complex, nuanced. We love it. The female experience is just so beautiful. It's so we could talk about that another time, right? Um, the House on Via Gemito, though, this is a story about a man, a father, who is he works, I believe, on um, trains, I think, or something like that. I don't remember exactly what he works in kind of more of a working class neighborhood of Napoli. but he is actually also an artist on the side, or an aspiring artist, I should say, um, where he does create art, but he never gets to the level that he wants to in terms of being a full-time artist and making money from it. So this is actually a story that is told about this man through the eyes of his son. Okay, so the perspective is from his son observing his father over the years, just being a human and kind of confronting this, just confronting life, right? So, one of the through lines for both of these books, though, again, the story, I haven't read it, but one of the through lines for the stories, I should say, um, that I just cannot stop thinking about is this idea of unmet, perhaps not unmet potential, not just unmet potential by itself, but the way in which, I guess, the heaviness and the implications and the realities of what it means when you have certain dreams in life or certain aspirations, or you have certain innate talents or abilities or gifts, and you are not able to execute them in life. And I didn't mention that the reason why this book is called My Brilliant Friend is because this is also told. It's interesting now that I'm thinking about it. This is also a story that sort of the main character, if you will, there's two main characters, two females, but it is being told through the eyes of someone witnessing. The main character, or one of the main characters, I should say, Elena Greco, she is telling the story of her friend, my brilliant friend, Lila Cerullo. And yes, so both of these, that's actually another interesting thing, that both of these are stories where it is being told through the eyes of an observer, right? Through like the second person, I guess. Is that the second person? I don't know. I need to refresh on these things from school. But through the eyes of an observer and witnessing um, the life around them and stories of people that, for all intents and purposes, were very talented and not able to ever fully actualize as geniuses, really, or as people with gifts. And I'm being a little bit, I don't want to say I'm being a little bit reductive, but there is obviously, like, for instance, there's so much in My Brilliant Friend that has a lot more to do, that has also to do with, like I said, the female experience and class and all these other social things and cultural things, right? And you see a little bit of that you definitely see hints of that for sure in the House of Gemito as well. So there's a lot of also like interesting historical context, which is great. But like I said, one thing that I just can't stop thinking about is this idea of unmet potential and how often realities in the world, whether that's social limitations, cultural limitations, economic limitations, a lack of resources, a lack of support, um, you know, these things can so easily, these realities of the world and life sometimes can so easily become barriers to people who want to chase their dreams. The One of the protagonists in My Brilliant Friend, Lila Cerullo, for all intents and purposes, she's a genius. Like, she has so much potential to create the shoe business with her family, and for a lot of reasons, which read the book, um, there are certain things that just don't materialize, and you see the way that these people in situations like this, right? Because there are so many people that historically have, think about how many people in the world have probably been in the same situations where you don't even have to be at the level of a genius, right? Like, just had any kind of, just being a human and wanting to share your gifts and having your own talents and your knowledge and things that you're good at, but not being able to ever fully do something with it. because of external circumstances, right? And environments that are not supportive to that. Um, so that's something that's always stuck with me, right? Or an idea that has always fascinated me because one, it is so painfully real, right? Like I'm such a big dreamer personally when it comes to possibilities in life and the endless possibilities and anything's possible and you can go after anything you want. But what happens in the real world, right, when that is not the case for everyone? That it's not the case that everyone is in a position where they're able to go after and chase their dreams. Like, there are just so many barriers that are very real that I I think that those of us who might not be confronting those barriers, whether it's because we're born in a different time or, things are different or we have more resources at our disposal or we have an environment that's more conducive and supportive, let's say, I feel like we have a duty to go after the things we want in our life, to go after our dreams, to share our talents, even if they're, like I said, they don't have to be at a genius level, right? Like, just the human need to share, to express yourself, to go after what you want in life, to try and reach kind of the highest version of yourself that you can. And these books were just, or these stories were just such real reminders or reality checks of what it can do to a person if they're not able to go after those things. And I don't want to necessarily romanticize, for instance, the father in the story of House of Gemito is, for all intents and purposes, like, I think they do a really good job of fleshing out his character and providing backstories to why he is the way he is, but definitely a larger than life character in the son's life because he is very abusive in a lot of ways. Um, and even Lila Cerullo in this story, I would say, like, there's a lot of things about her that are she can be very, people aren't black and white, but there's a lot of character flaws, really. Um, but I think both stories really humanize, in my perspective, these individuals' experiences and provide some context as to why sometimes uh, people might be the way they are, and I don't think it's a means of excusing anyone. It doesn't feel like that at all, but I can imagine how difficult it would be to I can only imagine, right? How difficult it would be to have it's one thing to hold yourself back in life, right? I think that for me personally, that is my biggest issue. I think that I am the biggest thing. I have always been the biggest thing getting in my own way. And I don't say that to give myself any sort of to like put blame on myself, but I just think it's the truth. Like, there's a difference between being the thing that is in your own way and having so many other barriers that, that is even just your own self getting in the own way is like the last thing that you're worried about in a way, in a sense, right? Um, and that's not to mean that people can't transcend circumstances, that they can't, um, you know, find ways to transcend their environments or certain barriers or limitations. By no means, like, that is not, but it's a reality that sometimes people don't, right? And they can't. Um, so my message here is if you have anything that you want to go after in life and you haven't been doing it because you are standing in your own way, not because there are other things, right? I think we like to try and, look for reasons in our head that we might not be. able to do something or go after something, but maybe take a little time to reflect and see if you are really the only thing standing in your own way, which is so normal. Like, give yourself compassion and understanding and love for that because I know that I have to do that for myself. But yeah, if you feel like maybe that is the case, then I would really love to invite whoever's watching to maybe be a little bit brave and courageous and give something a shot, right? Especially thinking about so many people and the reality in the world that there are other people that might have never had that chance. Um, so hopefully this message reached whoever it needed to. I know, like, I'm working with natural lighting here, so I know this has been kind of changing a lot. So I appreciate you putting up with that if you've made it this far. Um, I hope this inspires you to read the books or to read the stories. They're so good. But if nothing else, I hope this was a little bit of a sign, if nothing else, that it's time to go after what you want in life. Okay. Thank you so much for being here. I hope this was useful. Let me know in the comments if you took away anything helpful. And be sure to check out my other book reviews on Instagram in my highlights. And we'll be seeing each other soon. And thank you for your time, your space, your energy. We'll be seeing each other soon. Bye bye.